All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday edition of the Gen AI News Briefing. I'm David Delalo, and I am here with several of our analysts from GAI Insights, and we are going to talk through several stories today, let you know which ones are important to key in on and perhaps read the article. We have some news about the WHO releasing a pretty impressive tool that can help you learn some things about health and wellness. We have a chip maker that's trying to compete with NVIDIA. We'll see if they can actually pull that off. Got some funding. You may have heard about some jailbreaks that, what's the company? Anthropic had brought to people's attention. And we will start off with the WHO. Get us going on, Kaj. Not the
Thanks,
band.
David. Yeah. So the first one that we have for today is from WHO. So they have unveiled a new bot called Sara, which stands for Smart AI Resource Assistant for Health. And as David mentioned, it's quite interesting to interact with.
Yes, I'll bring her up on the screen. We won't be able to hear her, but I'll just show you what she looks like while Luda tells us what she thought about this.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to this lady. And this is focused on major causes of death in the world, like cancer, lung disease, and the like. And the response I got from the robot is quite comprehensive. You can go deeper into questions about specific foods, value to in age bracket of these foods. So it's so far I have found it's rather comprehensive response. There's a slight latency. The lips need some work, I think, the way she talks. It's a little unnatural, but in general, I think this is a great tool. I would rate it as important for our audience because of who is. It's a very important agency that doesn't announce things lightly. I hope this was tested, and it's an indication that the technology is maturing for this type of use, for sure.
Yeah, as I was talking to the others before you joined, before the break, the company that helped with the avatar for this and some of the technology is called Soul Machines, which is out of Australia. And the founder, Mark Sagar, was did CGI for movies, and he actually won a couple of awards. And he's been doing this since this company since 2016. I think he's been doing CGI for decades. And it's funny because this avatar still kind of looks like a version of what I saw when I talked to him 7 years ago or so, but definitely does a lot of facial expression.
Yeah,
about Soul Machines.
David, you're coming in and out. I don't know if you're coming in and out for everyone or just me.
Yes, there's a problem, David, with something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I would rate it as important, maybe essential, because I think here, the avatar is interesting, but I think what's more interesting is the knowledge base that you're taking, a tremendous amount of digital health knowledge and making available on cell phones around the world. That's incredible. I think this is, just so to me, it's at least important, if not essential. And this is a massive public health boon, and if it's good, I mean, fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I was borderline essential, and sorry if I was cutting out. It might have been because she was talking in the background, and the microphone was going back and forth. I was mentioning the company behind this was Soul Machines out of Australia, and the head of it is an expert in CGI. Yeah, I was borderline essential on this one myself. What did you think, Adam?
I just think back to our busy exec, like it's cool. It's amazing. It's going to make a big difference. They want to be aware of it because someone might ask them about it, but I can see where it would be important. Like I was actually borderline optional important. I can see where it would be important for them to understand the comprehensive approach and start getting their own ideas of how they could implement similar sort of technologies into their own business. It's like taking RAG and a knowledge base with a chatbot and really putting it on steroids and taking it to the next level with the multiple languages and the comprehensive knowledge base. But I'm not sure what they would do with this information. It's sort of like when we find a new antibiotic or something. Like, it's incredible. It's going to make a difference for the whole world, and for that reason, it's worth understanding sort of what Gen AI can do. But I'd be hard pressed to give it an essential for sure.
Yes, I think it does fall into that category of the antibiotic story that we talked about earlier this week, where Gen AI helped discover a potential drug for antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So we'll go with important on this one because it does have a lot of implications for everyone around the world, and it's just interesting to see. I think that's, as Lou said, such a major organization has come out with this tool. So we will go with important, and we will move on to the next.
Okay, the next one is from Anthropic. So Anthropic has highlighted a new jailbreaking method, which has come up with the long context windows that we have now.
All right, Adam, curious what you thought, and did you try this? I was I was thinking about trying this, but I was a little.
No, I haven't tried it myself. You'd have to make some pretty extensive synthetic data probably to get to that point even. But Ankash, if you scroll down a little more, there's a diagram that sort of shows smaller and longer context windows and whether or not they, it illustrates well. Yeah, right there. So basically, the concept is if you give it enough of a simulated dialogue, give it the sort of the user and what the GPT responds, and show it enough data where the GPT is misbehaving, you can get it to continue to misbehave. And this is something that is now possible because we have these context windows up to a million tokens versus 128,000 or 34,000. And as you get those larger contexts, you can start to effectively trick it into thinking that it's already behaving in this manner. It's interesting. I was on the fence between optional and important. It's good to know about, but as it even describes in the article, before they released this, they notified all of the other major companies that make large language models, and they've also found mechanisms of their own to mitigate this. And they give an example there where I think they were able to effectively reduce the attack success rate from 61% to 2%. Through mitigation techniques. So this might be one of those, we're telling everyone about it to make them aware that there's new techniques, but this one is one that's already been patched effectively. So in that way, I think it's optional, but understanding that context window actually exposes new risks potentially could be an important concept to highlight here.
I would say we don't know if the other providers have also patched it. so that might, and with the 2%, it might be an argument to still put it on the radar as it's not 100% solved. But so you were borderline optional important, or are you going important?
Yeah, I could certainly be convinced for important. But
I would put it important. So what is happening here? The underlying mechanism is the processing or parsing of the stuff that is given in the prompt, and actually the model trains itself on that input, and as it trains itself, it continues to misbehave, right? So the solution is to parse it before you give it to the model. The reason I would give it important is because if you do it in a specific context of an application, say in manufacturing, in whatever, this can be pretty devastating. So it's worth noting that this is possible, and it is worth keeping an eye on when you're releasing bots like this.
Yeah, and as Ankash just noted in the background in our private chat here, companies that are building their own models or using open source, this would be something that they definitely need to be aware of.
Correct.
Okay, we will go important on this one
Yep.
and move on to the next.
Okay. So the next one is a announcement of fundraising from Hilo. So they have raised $120 million to keep battling NVIDIA as the most AI chip startups struggle.
All right, John, thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is optional. This is a company doing accelerator chips. Got some good talent. Starting it out, folks from Texas Instruments and so forth. The articles kind of get a breathless tone. It's like, oh my goodness, funding is not as great in chips as it was before. Well, yeah, no joke. It's a highly capital intensive, incredibly competitive market with a bunch of giants in here trying to slug it out. So yeah, so totally optional.
Yeah, I think it said they have 300 customers already, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's whatever. No news here.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I would agree with optional. What these companies focusing on, and the reason they are standing and getting more funding, is because they focus on an edge chips. So not the main chips, but the ones that go into like to process video effects and stuff like that on the local device. And as a result, they have a differentiation.
Yeah. I just bought Chip Wars last night. I have been meaning to read that book for a while. And I read a story, I think I had shared it with you guys, kind of about the start of ASML. And it reminded me about it. And I'm like, all right, I got to grab this book and read it. It's going to be pretty good. All right. So, but this story is optional.
Yep.
And
we will move on to the next.
Okay. Next one is another fundraising announcement. It's from Luminance. They've raised $40 million and they are a legal Gen AI startup.
All right. We've got another competitor doing pretty well, trying to compete with Harvey, but probably not quite to that penetration level yet. What do we think about this one? Luda?
Yes, I'm between optional and important. As it is a fundraising news, it's optional. However, it highlights a totally big trend in legal practice. So the company was founded with a promise to demonstrate that much of the paralegals' work will be actually taken over by AI, and so the level of legal expertise will have to go up, right, with the AI helping. So that I think is important to note. And this is good enough with a lot. This company has 600 organizations already as customers. They've demonstrated the use in AI in Old Bailey, the London's highest criminal court. So it's happening, right? So for that reason, I would suggest we put it as important.
All right.
Yeah, I would definitely argue for important, if not essential. Everybody's got legal issues. Everybody's paying lawyers. So, this is just going to be an area where you're going to be able to decrease costs if you're a corporation. And if you're a law firm, you're not thinking about this, you're toast.
Yeah, maybe when Trump has run through all the lawyers that would agree to serve him, he can turn to this tool.
Oh, don't count the former president out. Just get deep support from this California billionaire, and plenty of attorneys still want to serve that man. So I'm gonna go there.
Adam, what did you think?
I don't know. I remain unconvinced. This seemed like optional news to me. Michael seems to agree. Unless he's commenting on one of the previous ones. Like, yeah, it's great what they're doing. I would expect they're not the only one. It's news about a funding announcement for a Series B, and there are probably a dozen companies that are bringing LLMs for law firms to market right now. So I don't know why this one would be such a special piece of news.
Why, Luda and John? Why do you feel like this one's so special?
This one is not. So as a news, I agree with Adam totally and completely. There's more. This has some traction, and they're doing a good job, it sounds like, backed by good companies, but it's optional from that perspective. To highlight a trend in legal, that's why I would go important.
All right.
It's an expected trend, though, I guess, right? I don't think anyone should be surprised that there are companies bringing to market chatbots that can take work away from, the busy work in legal.
I just
Seems
think
like
it's
a non-news to me.
Yeah, no, that is true, and this has been our policy. If it's an announcement or funding and the like, or the non-released product, we go optional until verified.
I don't know.
Well, they do have a big customer base, right? And they're trying to penetrate into the U.S. market, so it's something to be aware of. But I just, I didn't.
Anyway, I thought it was important. Look, they've got some decent capital behind them. This is they're already in front of the courts in London. I think this as a professional area, I think people just are underestimating how much this is going to impact it, and then by that, how it's going to impact the way that businesses deal with each other. Anyway, I vote for important, but I will live to fight another day if we go optional.
Yes, the optional is fine.
I'm going to put the gavel down with Adam and say optional.
All righty.
Again, calling into mind our key audience, which is the AI leader, and not sure that this raises to the level of I need to read this. So we'll go optional on this one.
Okay.
Sorry. What's next?
Next one is from Perplexity. So Perplexity is planning to sell ads on its platform.
Okay. They had promised they wouldn't do this, but then at the same time, they also said, we always planned on doing this. John, what did you think about this?
I thought it was important in the sense of, here we've got, second tier LLM, lining up to do advertising. And I think it's going to be an area where the AI leader needs to think through, okay, is my budget going for search or, search advertising and so forth going to go through these LLMs now? So I think it's important to have to plan on anybody who's, buying, advertisement and, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth needs to be looking at this.
Yeah, for the CMO, I would actually.
Yeah, but the AI leader is going to have to get in the middle of that, and they're going to be responsible for. They're going to have to be responsible for the, figuring out whether Perplexity can be trusted, and what's the, how good are the guardrails and all that good stuff. That's got to involve the technologist as well.
The CMO, when they ask for more budget for this, call the AI leader into the room and say, "Hey, give me support on this." Adam, Ludo, any thoughts?
I was going optional because it's not released and there are major business things to deal with. I think the minute they go put ads, the value, their revenue will increase, but their value might go down. So it's a lot of business questions to address before they go live with this. So I would put optional.
I think it's worth noting, though, for clarification, how they're planning to approach putting ads in. It's that when Perplexity answers a question, it's right there. The paragraph says uses AI to answer users' questions based on web sources, but it also links sources in the responses while suggesting related questions the users might want to ask. So the idea is if I have a hardware company and there's a related question about hardware, I might almost have a leading question that takes them towards, my product. And then on those secondary question pages, that's where they would start introducing the native ads. So it's not like if you just ask a question, you're going to get spammed with ads. It's going to be once they already understand that you have a context, that you're interested in doing something else or diving deeper into that subject matter, then targeting you with things that might actually be of high value. I could almost make a case for important as a new business model around approaching marketing, really using the inference of the large language model to target and add value to people who are already demonstrating an interest or a need. But mostly, I think you make some good points about why this would remain optional.
Yeah. So, but Adam, this is where the danger is, right? you are unleashing. So now I will have a question mark about the results given to me by Perplexity.
They're no longer unbiased.
They're no longer unbiased, right? They're biased, and they're giving those. And in the regular Google search, that at least I see sponsored, right? So I can scroll beyond sponsored to go unsponsored. Here, I can't do that unless there's some flag that says that. So I think there's lots of business issues they would need to deal with, really, before they go to it. So
I think a lot of those business issues are already there. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, and it's an announcement in the months to come. They will be doing this with a lot of challenges. So for those reasons, I could definitely get behind optional stuff.
I don't know. I'd still argue for important, because a lot of the issues you're talking about, Google's not truth, right? It's gamed, it's biased, and both how people spend dollars and how they do placements and content. Yeah, I just think the AI leader is going to be asked, hey, are we going to have to pay for this stuff, or is this going to come out, is this going to replace search? I've already been asked that question lots of times by practitioners and so forth. So I think the AI leader needs, an answer, and needs to pay real attention to this, because this is where a lot of the money's going to come in this domain. Is going to come, I think, out of search.
It is a good point, John. It is. And it is something that you can't be not aware of. You have to be aware to prepare for it. Because if they're going to put in the links to your sources, right, and that's what you want, you need to be working with them, or you need to be putting the infrastructure to be able to do that. So, and it will probably go this way anyway, right? So it is.
Some of it will, yeah.
Yeah, it will, right? So we need to tell them that this is happening, or they're at least thinking about it. However, it's very early. I think it will take them, I don't know, 3, 6.
Yeah, but we're not saying essential. It's important. I mean,
Well, also remember, we talked about, it was several weeks ago, I think, we looked at an article about a startup that was doing some version of this. Remember, they were going to basically, within text of an article, now instead of seeing an ad, you can click on a term or something that will, you can interact with it, and it's, coming to you from whatever, Clorox or something. And so there's traction here, right? Like, I think we're going to start seeing these types of innovative ways to use Gen AI to do advertising. I'm going to say important with a lowercase I, and I will note in our newsletter, you don't necessarily need to read this, but just be aware that this is where the space is going. How about that?
Okay.
last article on Kaj.
Okay, the last one is from Henkel. So the article lays out how Henkel sort of plans to manage its brand with generative AI.
Yeah, this one didn't hit me too well as anything but optional. But what did you think, Adam?
Essential. No. This is basically a commercial, best I can tell, for Henkel. And when I read between the lines, basically they're going to be using Adobe's tools. We reviewed them a couple of weeks ago, that Adobe is doing a new brand kit. It sounds like Henkel's going to be using it. It's pretty optional news. I couldn't get much more out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Any other comments on that one?
Optional.
Super optional. All right. Well, I know.
Although I will give credit to whoever wrote that article for assuming I knew what some of those acronyms meant. It was like BBCQ and HBL and stuff, and I'm like asking ChatGPT, and it's like,
yeah. All right. So we've got 2 articles, the one about the WHO and the one that we just discussed a while about Perplexity's new potential ad model that we say are important to be aware of. May not be like hugely impactful for the AI leader directly, but good to be aware of. And then definitely need to be aware of the many-shot jailbreaking security issue. And everything else we have is optional today. Any announcements for us, John? Or are we closing it out?
No announcements.
All right. So everybody have a happy hump day, and we will see you tomorrow morning at the same time as usual. Thanks for joining.